Good evening, and welcome to the ProfitRoom.com. My name is Ernest, co-founder of the Profit Room.
Hello, everyone. I'm Latoya, co-founder of the Profit Room.
All right. So make sure you guys forward this. We're on Facebook. We're also on YouTube. All right. Yep. Hope everybody's having a great evening. Great evening. Okay. So tonight, this is a part of our stock market stimulus series that we've been doing here at the Profit Room. Um, the subject tonight is why should you know about the stock market? Like, why should you actually uh, be educated or actually know what's going on in the stock market? A lot of people have jobs, you're entrepreneurs, you run businesses and things of that nature, and they really ignore it in some cases. Hey, I know I got a financial advisor that takes care of this, or I got a 401k or a boss that takes care of that, or I just go to the bank, things of that nature. But Latoya, why would you think it's important for just people as individuals, even though they may have professionals taking care of their money, but why should they really just understand what's going on in the stock market?
Because it's great knowledge and information just to pass down in general. But outside of that, like knowing what's going on in the market is like understanding what's going on overall in the world and as well as the overall economy, because you have to think a sense of the actual companies that are within the stock market and if they're doing good or if they're not doing good, that's going to translate into or translate over into Main Street. So that factor is also extremely important because everything is like based off of the economics. When you think about it in a sense, jobs, right? Whether or not we have a high or low unemployment rate, think about the interest rate, how that affects housing. There's the Fed rates. There's so many components or moving components to understand that actually makes it very important. And to me, the most important aspect, just being able to understand it in a sense, because when you think about the investing aspect of it, you think about growth in your money. Like, how are you going to keep up with inflation outside of like certain investment vehicles, and one being the stock market? That's extremely important because we know over time that's like one of the best vehicles to see your money grow in a sense. So those are my reasons that I believe most people or everyone, if that, should have some sort of idea and knowledge and information to actually want to know how to invest or even just know the dynamics of how the stock market works.
Now that's good. That's real good. I was thinking along the same lines, but also thinking as like an employee. When you work at a company, the more majority of people watching as you do, everybody wants a raise, or you hear about a company doing layoffs and things of that nature. Like, man, they're making all this money, they have all this cash, right? Why are they laying people off, right? Why are they not allowing people to have a raise? But then, if you're on the other side, you see the stock going up, you see the stock prices going higher, right? You see the effect of them laying people off and not giving raises because the investors are starting to get more and more money, right? So, as a person in the world, now you get to understand both sides, right? And it's not a conflict, it's just understanding that's how the world works. You may be an investor in a certain company, let's just say a utility company or something of that nature, or like say for example like Disney. You may be a long-term investor, you want the stock to go higher and higher and higher. So how do they get the stock to go higher and higher? They start trimming the fat, right? They start trimming the fat. Now what is the fat? That's the employees, that's the expenses. So what if you're on that end? Maybe you're a vendor for Disney, right? Where you used to clean or had a contract to clean the parks. Now they do it in-house. Or maybe you provided food, right? Now they cut that expense out. What does that do? Bring more cash flow that they can give to the investors, dividends, things of that nature, right? So now It could be frustrating when you're on the employee side because you're being laid off, or you're a contractor that doesn't have that contract anymore, right? But now you understand why, right? Because it's happening. So now you're not as frustrated anymore because you're wondering, oh, these companies are so cheap. They're ripping us off. They're taking advantage. And it could be true. You may feel that way, but it allows you to see, how can I protect myself now? How can I participate and take advantage of both sides? Maybe being an employee and also being an investor, because you can't change how it works. Like Latoya was mentioning before, you see how the interest rates are lower, why people are buying so many houses so much faster, because it's easy to borrow money, then vice versa. So one of the major things about understanding the stock market, because you're visually seeing how it's happening every single day. You see these companies making money and you see these companies losing money. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to protect yourself and actually understand what's going on. The worst thing we can do is be in this world that's ruled by the stock market and not know what's going on. Just leave it up to somebody else. And we've seen that happen. American greed, right?
Yeah.
People handing over money and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a return," and not knowing what's going on. So that's the same thing, and that also could protect you with your employer, right? So you know what your employer can do ahead of time and how everything is working with that. Now, Latoya, do you think that's something hard for people to actually learn or participate in? Just the understanding part? Does it have a lot to do with math? Does it take a lot of time? What do you think about that?
No, it's not hard to understand at all. It's just a matter of just taking some time. And what makes it easy in my mind is just a way how you and I are able to convey it and actually break it down so it can make sense, right? And I always say is you could break it down to a 5-year old, you're doing an awesome job. So yeah, I believe anyone can learn exactly how it works as long as they're willing to learn, more importantly, and it does not involve math at all. So that's one of the misconceptions.
Correct. Because I remember when I started to learn about the stock market, I would turn on CNBC and see all these colors and everything flash behind the bottom of the screen. Then these numbers are jumping up and down. Then they're saying things like the Dow is up 20 points, 30 points today. It's up this PE ratios and all that stuff. It can seem overwhelming, especially when you have that flashing in front of your eyes. But it's very, very simple to understand. It's
Yeah.
very simple to understand.
Even reading the like financial statements as well as like the balance sheet, it's just financial jargon at the end of the day. But when you literally break it down in simple terms, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get this. So yeah, could break it down as simple as possible.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties behind education. Like what we do at the Profit Room, we talk about a lot of information in a way that can benefit you. So even if you don't want to participate in the market, right? Even if you don't want to actively do it, you always want to understand what's actually going on. You don't want someone to bring papers in front of you or tell you about a specific investment and you clearly have no idea. Like that day and age is over, because the more horror stories we hear about people losing money from investments because they gave all their trust into somebody, because they said, hey, this is a great investment, believe me, you're going to make money, right? That's the first sign of disaster. That's why a lot of the employee programs that have 401ks, IRAs, what do they offer? They offer some form of education for somebody you can talk to. It may not be the best education, but they want to give you kind of an idea what you're actually doing. So that's the same thing now. Like you want to be able to have an idea of what's going on, right? I'm not a full auto mechanic, right? But the average person should know the cycle of how a car works, right? The engine, the start, this and that, or be able to have an idea. So when you do talk to an auto mechanic, when you do have a problem, you know what the problem is. So you get a couple of estimates, but you just understand why it's not working a certain way and what it needs to do to be fixed. It's the same thing with the stock market. We don't want to be able to sit and watch the news and just complain, or at work and just complain why the employer is doing this or doing that, especially if you have a major company. You want to be able to have an understanding of why certain things are happening. And it gives you a little bit peace of mind, of what's going on in the world. So you're just not sitting there and just relying on someone else. At the end of the day, education on any subject is going to lead to some form of success. So that being said, like we said, we don't want to take up too much of your time. We've been doing this series with stock market stimulus, trying to give you some little tidbits, keep our community conscious of their financial needs. You go to stockmarketstimulus.com. We have a great program just talking about how to get you active trading stock and options. Great course I mentioned before for novice or those who may be a little bit confused about the market, and one it really simplified and broken down. Uh, like Latoya mentioned before, about understanding balance sheets and understanding evaluation of a company and if it's a good investment. We go over all of that in a simplified way so you can understand that. And we talk about technicals because we are technical traders to show you visually about the market and what it's actually doing. And we do have some live trade examples to show you when to get in and actually when to exit, or why to get in the trade and why to exit the trade as well. So it's action packed with a lot of information that we think you actually definitely benefit. And like we always say, this is for a limited time, very
Mm-hmm.
limited time. So after April 19th, you guys not going to probably see us on here talking about it anymore because we're moving forward to a lot of other projects. And this is something that is very dear to us because we was able to help a lot of people last year um, make some pivots during the pandemic. The world is opening up right now, and I know you don't want to lose focus at this point. So, make sure you're conscious of your financial needs. And that's all we have for tonight. Any last words, Latoya?
No, no last words. Just get educated as always. Great information in general, and we definitely look forward to seeing you in stock market stimulus. So with that said, I'll leave you with the last words.
Like we say, get educated, trade safe, and we'll see you in the profit room.